This program is sponsored by Half Hour Deen.
Bismillah, salatu wassalam ala rasulillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to our viewers, and welcome to today's Friday Ask Eman show, where we're going to be here over the next hour as usual to answer your questions regarding your lifestyle as a Muslim and anything you'd like to ask. So as usual, you can get in contact with us by dialing 0203 515 0769. This will bring you into the studio to ask our Shaykh today your questions. Otherwise, you also can find more details where you can get in contact via WhatsApp, Facebook live stream, and email coming and going at the bottom right side of your screen. So without further ado, I'll be your host for today, and joining us is Shaykh Wasim Kempson. Assalamu alaikum, Shaykh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi
How are you?
I'm very well, jazakallah khair.
You know, Shaykh, today I was at a central masjid, and I was hoping, like, you know what, when the Imam says Assalamu alaikum, it will be Shaykh Wasim, because I know you do khutbah there, but
Yeah, well, not today.
but it wasn't you today.
Not today,
So good to see you, Shaykh. It's been a while.
Allah barik fiik.
I'd like to ask you for a short reminder as we start every show, and then we can get into some questions from our viewers, inshallah.
نعم طيب بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise belongs to Allah, and may the peace and blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be upon his final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Welcome to all the brothers and sisters and the viewers at home. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that he blesses us all and has mercy upon us all, and allows these final days that we are spending in this month of Sha'ban to be days of preparation and days of purifying our intentions towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because what is upon us is a shahrun azim, is a very great and blessed month. And I know that we are reminded on many occasions about, it's a blessed month, and it is a month of Qur'an, a month of mercy, it is a month of this, and it is a month of that. And how often the month passes us by and we don't get what we want really from this particular month. But as I always mention, and in the preparation or before the actual happening of what we're waiting for, it is never too late to prepare yourself, to set goals, to achieve certain things from this particular month, to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you become a better Muslim. And what I have having a conversation with some brothers yesterday is that Islam for a lot of people has become something which is more prevalent. You see, sisters wearing more hijab than they used to. You see the signs of Islam more than you did a number of years ago, which on the one hand is very good, alhamdulillah. But on the other hand is that there are more challenges, or different types of challenges, that Muslims are facing now that they never had before. And with that, there has become a lot of confusion, and especially the tests of who to seek knowledge from and how to seek knowledge and who to ask and who not to ask. These things have become very, very difficult for Muslims, how to decipher as to what is the right thing to do. So platforms like the Eman channel and the programs that it does, alhamdulillah, I believe that serves a great service to the Muslim community. And the Muslims who regularly participate and watch their programs can also be partners, if you like, in the work that the Eman channel does. We don't feel, or you shouldn't feel, detached from it, that it is a completely separate kind of entity. You should feel part of it, and how you can be part of it is not only by supporting the channel itself. Even if it's financially, you want to support it by giving sadaqah or charity, then you can do that. Or if it means that you're watching the programs via the social media, that you share. All it is a click. For many of us, we put up different pictures and share pictures on our social media. We share links and different things like this. Just if you're watching it through the social media, just press that share button, so that your other contacts can watch the programs and benefit from the great work that a lot of the brothers who, for a lot of the people who watch that, they will never see them. Allahu A'lam. They may never see them, but there are many brothers who are many and sisters as well in going and doing a lot of work in producing a lot of beneficial programs, a beneficial kind of work for the Muslim community. So the Muslims, the brothers and sisters who know about Eman channel should really try to spread it as much as they can and share the khair, and who knows that by you allowing other people to have knowledge of what the channel is about, that person will gain so much benefit and you get the reward for that. So I would encourage all the brothers and sisters to really market the channel as much as they can, to share the goodness, which I believe can be found in the work, inshallah ta'ala. It is the work of the prophets is always is there for us to carry out, and it comes in way different forms. And in the modern way that we're doing it now is through through the internet, through social media, and things like that. So we ask Allah Azza wa Jal to bless the channel, to bless all the Muslims who are going to spend their time in the month of Ramadan. Let the Eman channel become your new companion in the month of Ramadan. You can benefit from the lectures, you can benefit from the new series that are coming up, the Q&A that's coming up, and things like that. Allow it to be something which is part of your life and can benefit you. May Allah Azza wa Jal make it easy for us all.
Ameen. Thank you so much for that, Shaykh. May Allah bless you. I'd like to remind our viewers at home that we're live now on Ask Eman. We're going to be here up until 8 o'clock today, so that's over the next 50 to 45 minutes. So what you can do, if you have any questions, Ramadan's only a few days away. Or you may need advice for other acts of worship, which are all relevant to Ramadan. If you perform them well in Ramadan, then you're making the most of your Ramadan by doing so. So to reach us, call 0203 515 0769. You'll find this number coming and going at the bottom right side of your screen. If you're watching for the first time, then this is the channel, this is the show where you can get your questions answered regarding your life as a Muslim. Shaykh today, Shaykh Wasim Kempson, is qualified to answer your questions authentically according to the Quran and Sunnah. So do stay tuned and share with your family and friends as our Shaykh advised. So our next question, Shaykh, is from Facebook. The question is, Assalamu alaikum. If a sister would like to marry but does not have a wali, what should she do?
So again, this is an issue. That person says, I don't have a wali, because maybe the person doesn't understand who their guardian is. Now, if we're talking about a revert or somebody who's embraced Islam, convert, revert, whatever term you want to use, then they don't have any male Muslim family members, then they can go to the main imam in their area and explain the situation to them, and either that individual or another person can be designated to be the wali for her. That's for a person who embraced Islam. As for a person who was born into a Muslim family, then their father will be the wali, and if he's alive, then he has guardianship over his daughter for the purpose of marriage. The question doesn't specify as to what the situation, but I mentioned both.
Right, Shaykh, thank you so much. With that, we have our first caller of the show. So, Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Warwickshire. Is it okay if I don't tell the name?
That's fine. We just need your question, inshallah.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum. My first question is about the vinegar.
Okay.
There are three terms: the red wine vinegar, white wine vinegar, and the spirit vinegar. Are the same, or are they permissible to eat or have?
Okay, Shaykh, the three types of vinegar, are they all the same and are they permissible to eat?
These types of vinegar, you find them in separate products. So, for example, if you buy a product, you buy a sauce, or you buy a sandwich, and it has any of these products in it, then it's not a problem for you to use, inshallah ta'ala.
All right,
no.
Shaykh, Jazakallah.
Because that's mostly where you find it. Okay, you find it within sauces and things like that. If that's the case, then it's not a problem.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Shaykh, for your answer. Next question is, Shaykh, I want to know if you do a good deed and it is not from your heart, does it still count? If you do it for the sake of it being something good, will it count and will it get written by the angels?
So the Prophet ﷺ is a very important hadith in this topic, and the hadith is إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ, that actions are known and are by their intentions. إنما الأعمال بالنيات وإنما لكل امرئ ما نوى, and that every person shall have what they intended. Then the Prophet ﷺ mentioned in a hadith an example where a person they do the same action. They make a hijrah. They leave one place to another place. And one of those reasons is that a person makes the hijrah for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Messenger ﷺ. And another person makes the hijrah for the purpose of the dunya, for some worldly matter, or for the purpose of marriage. Maybe that dunya or the purpose of marriage is a good thing for them. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى مَا هَاجَرَ إِلَيْهِ. Then the hijrah, or the reward, or what that person intended, will be for what he or she did.
Okay.
So in essence, that if a person does an action which is deemed good but has absolutely no intention to do that, then it is important that you have the intention, because the intention is there for you to receive the good deeds, inshallah ta'ala. There are certain intentions, and this is why I want to make a difference. There are certain intentions that are made which are assumed, and you don't need to make a new intention for it.
Okay.
Okay? And this would come under a chapter called Istishab, and that we will assume continuation of an intention that you made. So for example, that I made my wudu from my home, and I was going to the masjid to pray one of the salawat, one of the prayers. And I got out of my car, and I know in my mind my intention is to pray that particular salah, let's say Salatul Dhuhr, okay? Now, when I reach the salah, when I reach that prayer, is it required for me now to make that intention? We're saying, of course, you're not going to make it verbally, but is it important for you now, or is it a must for you to make that renew intention? We will, after the prayer, the person says, I didn't say my intention, or I didn't make an intention just before the prayer. Once we speak to that individual, say, where were you coming from? I made wudu from my home, I went into my car with the intention of going to the salah, to the masjid to perform salah. We say, we will assume that you had the intention to do that, so that's not an issue. Okay? So there are certain things which you will assume continuation of the intention that you had at the beginning. But then there are certain actions which require you to make an intention for each time that you do that action. For example, if you're going to do obligatory fasts, you're required to make an intention each night. Now a person may think, oh, I didn't do that, or I've never done that before. The point is that when you make, or you have suhoor in the morning, or you intend to get for Fajr, are you intending to fast without even... Yeah, of course you are. That's your intention. Okay, but so there are times when you're required to make an intention and renew it each time. As for these deeds, and it is something which, we won't assume that there is a continuation of the intention. We'll go back to the situation that you have to make an intention to be rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I hope that's clear.
That's clear, Shaykh. Thank you so much. With that, we'll go to our next caller. I believe it was our previous caller. So, assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the show. What's your question for us?
My second question about some of the families, they pool in for their funeral cost, and when if one of them dies, they take the money out for their funeral cost, Is it okay to pool in for funeral cost?
To pool in, you said?
They pool, then some families, they go together and then pool in some money, every family or every person. They pool the money in, and when one of them dies, they take the money out for their cost,
All right, Shaykh, is that okay to do?
Okay, so the origin is that if a person passes away and that they have wealth, that is the wealth that they owned, that will be it will be taken from that to prepare their funeral. It's not an obligation if they have wealth. It's not on others. Only it becomes an obligation upon others that person has nothing. So that deceased has wealth.
Okay.
It is allowed for those others, families or those preparing the funeral, to take from that deceased's wealth to prepare their particular janazah. If, however, the people say, we want to put money together, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 people, we all want to put money together to pay for that person's janazah as a form of sadaqah, then there's nothing preventing that. They can do that. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. Our next question is from WhatsApp. The question is, Assalamu alaikum. Is it true in Islam, your mother-in-law and father-in-law, you have to treat like your own parents? What is the evidence?
So, in Islam, you have one mother and you have one father. But of course, of course I already know that. But then we don't want to, I'm saying that is because we don't want to confuse. Because a title may be given to another person like mother-in-law, but she is not your mother. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَاعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ وَلَا تُشْرِكُوا بِهِ شَيْئًا وَبِالْوَالِدَيْنِ إِحْسَانًا. That worship Allah alone and do not associate any partners with Him, and be dutiful to your walidain, your two parents, your mother and your father. So how do I treat? Because my mother and my mother-in-law and my father, they of course would not have the same in terms of stature or how I honor them as my own mother and father. But that doesn't mean I dishonor them, or I'm rude to them, or I say to them, you're not my mother and you're not my father. Because in such a situation where I'm being asked, or somebody is being asked, does the mother-in-law or the father-in-law have the same rights, or should they be the same as the mother, or the my mother and father? It means there is an issue. I'm trying to understand that there's an issue between the husband and wife. That maybe the husband is saying to his wife, you need to treat my parents like your parents. Or maybe the wife is saying to her husband, you need to treat my parents, your mother and father-in-law, like your own parents. These things shouldn't be said to them, because this is not the case. It is upon you individually to treat your own parents like nobody else. And everybody who comes after that is not at the same level. However, honoring, being compassionate and loving and merciful and good, that is required of you. But it's not for you to make a point of saying that you are not at the same level. This is not the point. You don't say things like that. But we're talking about in terms of hierarchy, then your mother and your father, there was nobody like them. And they deserve to be honored like nobody else. So in situations where people, what is the evidence to say that they're all the same? They are not the same. He's not, your mother and your father is not my mother and father. They have rights over you that is different for me. So situations where there's disputes amongst couples, we don't want to stop bringing these things in. But nonetheless, as kind of a general advice, that you treat all Muslims with compassion, love, and those that maybe you're going to have more contact with, especially your in-laws, then you make an extra effort, inshallah ta'ala, to show them ihsan, to show goodness towards them. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. With that, we'll go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. As I said, calling from Manchester.
Saing, brother, how are you today?
Alhamdulillah.
And what's your question for us?
My question to Shaykh is, Shaykh, can you explain that in order to have Islamic marriage ceremony, what are the main requirements are there? And if a couple decides to go only for registration purposes and there are two witnesses there, will that suffice for Islamic marriage?
Do you want to ask anything, Shaykh, or is that clear?
No, it's very clear, alhamdulillah.
Thank you so much, Brother Saeed. Do you have any more questions for us today? All right, Jazakallah khair for your call. May Allah bless you. For the rest of our brothers and sisters watching at home, you're also able to call us, as Brother Saeed just did, by dialing 0203 515 067 0769. That will bring you into the studio to ask your question. Otherwise, you'll also find Facebook, WhatsApp and email options coming and going at the bottom right side of your screen up until 8 o'clock today, inshallah. So Brother Saeed asked, what are the main requirements of a marriage ceremony in Islam?
Okay, so for an Islamic marriage to be valid, there needs to be rida zawjain, there needs to be both the man and the woman, that they are accepting of the situation. Then you need shahidain adalain, two male witnesses who are just, fair, good people. And then also you need al-ijaba wal-qabul, you need an offering and an acceptance. And you need intifa al-muwana, or there's the removal of any matters which would prevent them from marrying. For example, let's say a woman is still married to somebody else, or she's going through her iddah, or something like this. As long as these conditions, the presence of course the woman's guardian, and if these conditions are fulfilled, then the marriage can be, we say it is valid. Now going to normal registry or civil marriages, these conditions may not be fulfilled. So it is important to be aware that the Islamic conditions for marriage must be fulfilled. And just because a ceremony is called a marriage may not necessarily fulfill the Islamic requirements. Even if the mahar may not be mentioned, but later on it can be installed as a right for her, and that she will be entitled to something called al-mahr al-mithl, and that would be the dowry which is customarily for her situation, the people that she would be entitled to, she will receive that, and that will be a right for her. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. Our next question is Assalamu alaikum. In today's world, as an IT engineer, most common jobs is working in multinational consulting companies, which give services to all types of clients, like automobile company, networking, banks, insurance, mobile companies. As an employee, it's not in our hand to choose the project. Whatever project has been given to us, we have to work on them. What is the ruling on working in such companies? There are thousands of Muslims working in companies which have both haram and halal projects.
Okay, so as an IT engineer, will work for his own company, and then they will have contracts with other companies. If it is within your capabilities to, work for, or do your work or IT work for companies which you personally feel do not go against any Islamic principles, then that's not an issue. If you feel that it is doing work for a company that you think is clearly against Islamic company, a gambling company or something like that, and if you have the right to ask for to work in a different area, and they're flexible in that, then you can do that. If there is no flexibility, okay, so maybe the case we're just given jobs and we have to do that, then you can continue with your work. Why? Number one, because asl al-amal, the origin or the type of work that you are doing, is something which is, of course, permissible, okay? And I would assume that maybe the vast majority of the work that you are doing doesn't contravene any Islamic principles at all. So, based upon this, we'll say that there's not an issue for you to do that work, regardless of where you go, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. With that, we'll go to our next caller of the show. So, assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, my name is Andy.
Hey, Andy. Alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
Hello. The question I'm asking is, I've struggled most of my life with issues of things like self-esteem, self-hatred, and things like this. I've seen people, psychologists and psychiatrists regarding this, which is, sort of psychotherapy, medication and things like this. But I'm really struggling to find reasons sometimes just to sort of keep on going. So I needed to get some advice just in, is there anything in Islam regarding self-hatred, body image, and things like this, just to give me some type of peace and a reason not to obviously go off the path, really.
Yeah. All right, then. If you can hold the line, Andy, thank you so much for your call today. We'll definitely give you some words of advice from our Shaykh. Shaykh Wasim, would you like to take it from there?
So I think, Brother Andy, that first and foremost, he's done the right thing in seeking medical advice, professional advice, professional help on the matter, because as a Muslim, it is allowed for us to seek help from different sources. And added to that, alhamdulillah, we also have guidance from the Quran and Sunnah, which will help us develop our thoughts on our outlook on life in general, because that's important. So in line with the medical advice and professional advice that you have got, you can, if you like, support that with our view of and our understanding of life in general. Now, Brother Andy didn't mention anything specifically that what makes him feel down, or what makes him feel the way that he's feeling, because sometimes there can be some trigger issues, as trigger points where they feel for whatever reason that makes them go down this or this way of thinking.
Just to stop you, Shaykh.
No.
I believe Andy doesn't follow Islam. He's not a Muslim.
Right.
So just I thought I'd let you know that.
Sorry, I am a Muslim.
Oh, you are. All right then.
Okay.
Sorry, the studio team said otherwise.
Okay.
So,
okay.
all right then. There's a misunderstanding.
Yeah,
okay,
well,
Shaykh,
brother Andy
is
a brother in humanity, nonetheless.
All right.
You know, you've
apologies for that.
Not at all. Alhamdulillah. May Allah make it easy for our brother. So what I would say is that, in line with the advice, the medical advice, professional help that has been given to you, and how you kind of take that information, what makes me feel the way that I'm feeling? What are the particular points? So I can go to the Quran and Sunnah, and I will know that for things like trials, because this is a trial, it's a tribulation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give me trials and tribulations and test me with different things. Number one is that it will never be a matter or a trial that it is too much for me to overcome. It is always a trial that I have the ability, with help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to get over. Also, we look to how the Prophet ﷺ used to deal with life. And the companions, they said that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, كَانَ يُحِبُّ الْفَأَلِ, he used to love being optimistic. Okay, and optimism is a state of mind. You know, for example, instead of looking at things possibly in a negative way, or a way which would, you know, depending on the situation, it's kind of maybe this won't happen, or that this could fail.
Could I just stop you there, Shaykh?
Right.
We have to take a quick break. We can continue afterwards.
Okay,
Inshallah.
sure.
Sorry to stop you there. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in so far. We'll be back after a few minutes, so stay tuned. After which we'll come back to continue taking your questions, inshallah.
This program is sponsored by Half Hour Deen. This program This program is sponsored by Half Hour Deen.
Bismillah, salatu wassalamu ala rasulillah, wassalamu alaikum to our brothers and sisters, and welcome back to part 2 of today's Ask Eman show, where we're going to be here for the next 30 minutes to continue taking your questions and getting them answered by our Shaykh today, Imam Wasim Kempson, who's here to answer your questions authentically according to the Quran and Sunnah. So if you'd like to call us, then dial 0203 515 0769. You'll find this number coming and going at the bottom right side of your screen. For everyone watching along on Facebook, you're able to leave your question in the comment section, and we can put that forward to our Shaykh as well, inshallah. So Shaykh, you were in the middle of answering the question for Brother Andy. If you'd like to continue.
I don't believe, of course, the short time that I'm going to speak now is suddenly going to solve all the problems or the trials that the Brother Andy is going through, or anyone else for that matter. But my very small advice, I hope that can give some solace or some peace to that individual, that whatever the shaitan or whatever outlook you have on life, how bad things that they can be, that always, as long as you try to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is qareeb, that Allah is close to answering your supplication, and that the way out is closer than you think it is. Sometimes if we look at it on a human level, that I have to do this, A, B, C, and then only that can happen, then I have to do that. Always I believe and I know that I look beyond that. And I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can make things easier for me. And the Prophet ﷺ went through the greatest trials like anyone could go through. But yet still he would love fa'al in Arabic is called, which is optimism. Always look on the good side of things. Even if at the beginning you are not necessarily totally convincing yourself, but nonetheless that you are saying it. And it is important that you look at things and you allow optimism to be part of your life and not to keep it in.
Okay.
Because you keeping it in and not saying anything allows the negativity maybe to become a little more stronger than the optimism. So even though I'm saying things, and then the person questions, well, I'm saying it but I don't believe it. That's the shaitan. Don't say things negative.
Okay.
If there's any kind of negativity, just don't say it.
Okay.
But things of optimism, things that are looking good, on the good side of things, the better way of looking at things, just say it. And then the more you say it, the more you're making, and combined with making du'a to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we'd hope that the situation will become easier and better for Brother Andy and all those who are going through similar trials. I would also say that if you can maybe speak to somebody who is maybe a Muslim counsellor, professional counsellor, who can open up the issue a little bit more deeper and maybe get the more direct answer that you need. And I ask Allah, I make dua for the brother to make it easy for him. Ramadan is a good opportunity to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. Brother Andy, are you still on the line?
Yes, I'm on the line, yeah.
Hopefully that was some help to you. We'd like to let you know that we're here every day between the hours of 7 to 8, and you can actually, during Ramadan, it's going to be from 6:30 to 7:30. 6:45.
Thank you so much for all your kind words and compassion. Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome.
Well, we'd like you, anytime you'd like to give us a call, the show is going to be here live every day from now through Ramadan and after as well. So you can call anytime for any advice you need, and if you need any answers for your questions, inshallah.
Just listening to you has made me feel better. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Shaykh.
No, as I said at the very beginning of the show, that don't think that just because you're watching the show on your phone or your television or what, we're all one ummah, we're one brotherhood, one sisterhood, and you can be part of the show. We're not doing this because for any other reason. It's for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and for allow the brothers and sisters to have their input in our shows as well. Okay,
yes.
It's their show. They have the opportunity to call in and speak with us concerning any matter. So Brother Andy, if he wants to, call tomorrow or call any time when the show's here, marhaban, welcome.
Yes.
Ahlan wa sahlan.
Yes.
No.
Jazakallah khair,
Allah
Shaykh.
barik feek.
Thank you so much, Brother Andy, for your call. For the rest of our viewers at home, you can also get in touch by dialing 0203 515 0769. This number is coming and going at the bottom right side of your screen.
I want to mention something else.
Yes, please, Shaykh.
I do want to mention something else. And that is, subhanAllah, I'm assuming, I may be wrong, but I'm assuming Brother Andy, he embraced Islam with a name like Andy. I wasn't born with a Muslim name, I had a Christian name.
Yes, yes. I won't ask you what that is, Shaykh, don't worry.
That's okay, I wasn't going to answer anyway. But a person whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides to Islam, Allah Azza wa Jal didn't guide you for any other reason except that Allah loves you. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees you in a good way. So you have great value. And in terms of giving yourself value, and what do you measure that by? Not by money. But as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that the best of you in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those who have the most taqwa. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides you to the religion of Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided you to a deen, guided you to His religion, this is a sign, inshallah ta'ala, that Allah loves you. And for Brother Andy, regardless of whatever thought would come to you, any person that embraces Islam was feeling down, that they should know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took them out from dhulumat, took them out from darkness, and brought them to the light of Islam. And this is a sign, Allahu Alam, that Allah Azza wa Jalla loves you, and you have a great position and standing with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So be thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. And just to follow up on that, Shaykh, we'll move on to our next question shortly. But what role does thankfulness play in our life? Or actually, what's the significance of thankfulness to Allah, to us as Muslims?
So thankfulness is one of the states that we should be in quite often, if not always. In that the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives to us are something we can never count or enumerate. If you try to count the blessings of Allah, you will never be able to enumerate them. There's so many. So if you like, because of that, I should always be in a state of being thankful and grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as long as you remain grateful and thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you recognize that He is the one who blesses you, and that He alone is the one who is deserving of all thanks and praise, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you. So in a win-win situation. And this is the beauty of understanding your Lord, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more than you can ever imagine from every respect. He's more merciful than you can imagine. He is, from any aspect, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is more. And things like this, being grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, doesn't mean that you just, you don't get anything back. Being thankful means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you back to you. And if you're not, if you're facing a situation where it's difficult for you to be grateful, because it doesn't mean you're being ungrateful, but you need to be patient, because there's a trial or a calamity that you need to be patient. So the Muslim, if you like, is between either being patient, because they're going through some hard times, be patient, or you're being thankful. So try to be between these two states.
And are you, Shaykh, are you able to be thankful while being patient through the trial?
Taban, very good question. So if a person is being tested, what is expected of you is to be patient. But even a higher level than that, subhanallah, is that you thank Allah Azza wa Jal for your test. And this is from the very highest levels.
SubhanAllah.
It's called rida. It is to be satisfied and that you're accepting and grateful for that what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has decreed for you. Okay? So it is possible, and may Allah Azza wa Jal allow us to reach those high levels of Iman.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. We have two callers waiting on the line. So we'll go to our first caller. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Salam. I'm calling from London. I have a question regarding zakat. What would the Shaykh say in regards to the best way to give zakat being in the UK? Because I know there's so many charities out there that you can just calculate your own zakat and donate it online. But to me that just seems a bit too easy. And so in a sense, I know it's not supposed to be difficult, but it doesn't seem I don't feel fulfilled or like I fulfilled a duty because you're just giving it in someone else's hands, and it's the onus is kind of upon them to do what they want with the money and to give it whenever they, or however they do it.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the best way to kind of give zakat living in the UK?
All right then. Do you have any more questions for us?
No, that's all. Jazakallah khair.
Well, yeah, thank you so much for your call. With that, we'll go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello. Walaikum salam. My name is Nasir Khan and I'm calling from Birmingham.
Salam, brother Nasir. How are you today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm fine.
Alhamdulillah. And what's your question for us?
Basically, brother, I have got no knowledge at all in Islam because the environment I was living, I'm born in Africa, but I've come in England. I've been here for a while. I've actually lost my sight completely now.
Subhanallah.
You see, Alhamdulillah. But I wanted to know what I can do to learn Islam, from the basics and that.
All right then. May Allah make it easy for you, brother, and accept from you your patience. Thank you for your call. Stay tuned and we'll get that answered in just a few minutes, inshallah. For the rest of our viewers at home, we have around 10 minutes left of our show. So if you'd like to ask your questions, then dial 0203 515 0769. You'll also find this number at the bottom right side of your screen, coming and going with the rest of the options to get in contact with us, inshallah. So our first question, Shaykh, from the sister asked, what is the best way to give zakat while living in the UK? It seems too easy to give it online, to calculate it online and process it online, and it doesn't feel fulfilling. What do you advise is the best way to give it?
طيب, so concerning zakah, I mean, it is, as is with establishing the prayer 5 times a day, or a person fasting the month of Ramadan, or even performing Hajj, the establishment of zakah is one of the pillars of Islam. So it is a great obligation that you are fulfilling, and as long as you are doing it and fulfilling that, then this is a great ibadah that you are establishing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of the purposes of giving zakah is from the different categories is to feed, or not necessarily to feed, but to cater for the needs of the poor and the destitute.
Mm-hmm.
Now, sometimes it is for you to be fulfilled, i.e. that you give your money and then you want to see how that benefits the poor people. If you don't see that, then sometimes you can feel unfulfilled.
Yes.
But don't feel that way. As long as number one, you're establishing the obligation. That's the main thing. Okay. Now if there is a particular charity who you know that will distribute your zakah in a way that is transparent, very clear, and it is being done correctly, then that is enough for you. And because they will explain to you how the zakah will be distributed and to whom and how.
Mm-hmm.
If it's in a different country, for example, okay. Then this can be some form of fulfillment for you, okay? So I think that living in the Western countries is very difficult for us, that, sometimes you can't go to places or poor places to see where the money is being delivered to the poor people, if that's who it's going to. But at least you can give it to a transparent charity who will inform you, these are the people it's going to, so then you can feel a little more spiritually fulfilled. You say, Alhamdulillah, that these people are benefiting from the money that's being given to them. Wallahu alam.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. We'll move on to our next caller now and then come back to our question from our brother. Assalamu alaikum to our next caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Walaikum assalam. I've got 2 questions for the Shaykh, please.
You can go ahead, brother.
Question 1 is it okay when it comes to the moon sighting for the beginning of Ramadan, or any month for that matter, to follow Saudi? Because there's some Muslims who insist that following Saudi isn't a valid opinion. And the second question is it okay to eat meat which has been stunned but the animal hasn't died, and so then you slaughter it after that? Because I was speaking to a Muslim who's involved in the meat industry, and he was giving the example that if you go to hospital for an operation, they give you anesthetics first.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have the operation, there isn't as much pain, or there's no pain. So the same thing when it comes to the slaughter. If the animal's stunned first, it will suffer less pain. And he was arguing that scientifically, the Islamic slaughter does give a lot of pain compared to stunning.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. So stay tuned. We'll get that answered, both of your questions, after our next caller, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum to our next caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Hello, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother. What's your question for us today?
Okay. My question is related to tashahud.
Okay.
I just want to confirm why we actually raise our index finger during tashahud. Is there any reason for it, or is it because we found the Prophet doing it and we actually also do it?
All right.
Tradition, or is there any particular reason for it?
All right then. Thank you so much for your call, brother. May Allah bless you. All right, so our last caller from our queue. So assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
What's your name?
Actually, can I stay in anonymous, please?
Of course, that's completely fine. And what's your question?
The question is, I have a son who's 22 years old, and he decided he doesn't want to be Muslim anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I emailed so many people where I can get help for my son. So far, I had no luck. It's been 2 years now. I was wondering if you guys can help me somehow, or I don't know, is there anywhere that you can, as a Muslim, you can go and get help from, or someone can talk to him or...
All right, Shaykh, do you want to ask any questions?
What area are they based in?
What area are you based in, sister? Uxbridge.
Yeah.
All right then. All right. Thank you so much for your call. Thanks to all of our callers. We'll get started with answering your questions right now. For everyone else, we're going to be here for another 10 minutes. So if you'd like to call or send your questions, you'll find all the information coming and going at the bottom right side of your screen, inshallah. So our first question from our queue, Shaykh, is the brother explained that he has no knowledge of Islam and he's lost his sight completely since coming to the UK. What do you advise he can do to learn about Islam?
So, first of all, we have to look at the different ways that people learn. And because of the challenges that the brother has at the moment, then he's going to rely on audio learning. And there's different ways that people can study religion through audio, whether that's through the social media. You can still, listen to different platforms on social media. You can, obviously, there's the channel here, where you have the opportunity to ask your questions about particular matters of your religion. So if there's a particular well-known, trusted and well-known scholar that you can listen to their lessons, focus on things like belief, and focus on trying to listen to the Quran, try to recite the Quran as much as you can, and establish the obligations. If a person who wants to start from the scratch, if you like, is to learn or to know what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has obligated upon you. And that is to have a correct and clear belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, worship Him alone, call upon Him alone, turn to Him alone, to establish your 5 daily prayers. This is extremely important in their times. Okay? And if you have wealth, like the pillars of Islam, if you have wealth and it reaches the threshold of the nisab, you pay it once a year to fast the month of Ramadan. If you're able to do that, you're healthy. There's nothing preventing you from doing that. And if you have the ability to perform Hajj. And then on top of that, you try to supplement your learning with subjects about the Day of Judgment, about the angels, about the prophets and the books, the articles of faith. So you take this slowly, but establishing your obligations, that what you should be doing on a daily basis, is extremely important. And to take from trusted, well-known people of knowledge is important. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows this. I know my answer is very general, it's very short, but again, our platform is very limited in answering things like that. But may Allah make it easy for the brother. And we hope to hear from him again, inshallah ta'ala.
Thank you, Shaykh. Before we move on to our next caller, we'll get through one more question. Next question is it okay when it comes to moon sighting to follow particular countries, as there are some people say it's invalid to do so.
Yeah. So there are valid opinions to say that there are local sightings and then there are international sightings. Local sighting means that every local area will depend on their own sighting locally, and whenever they see or they don't see the moon, that's when they're going to start and finish their fasting. And then there is a legitimate view to say that where any Muslim country or any Muslims they see on earth, then they will follow them. They are legitimate opinions, okay? So if anyone starts rubbishing the other opinion, is not correct and is not right to say such a thing, okay? And the idea of following Saudi, it's following, you know, if you like, following Mecca or following on Saudi, whatever the case may be. And the vast majority of Muslims, wallahu alam, it may be argued otherwise, but then it may be argued the other way, that the vast majority of Muslims, they follow the sighting, international sighting that goes on. That doesn't mean to say that if all the Muslims in the UK, they are in agreement, we're going to do locally, Bismillah, tawakkalna Allah, we'll do that, no problem. For whatever reason, you know, it's another simple issue that Muslims find, go to great lengths to find a way to argue and to differ and to go their own way, and not only to make just two opinions, but somehow find a third opinion.
Thank you, Shaykh.
May Allah remove these ikhtilafat and allow us to unite.
Ameen, Shaykh. Thank you so much. With that, we'll go to our next caller. Assalamu alaikum to our caller. Welcome to the show. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Mrs. Tyre from Bradford. Hello.
All right, welcome to the show. What's your question for us today?
I want to ask a question that how we demonstrate about when we are so helpless, like in Afghanistan there were 200
All right then. If we could ask the sisters to call back, and just to avoid any political references while asking your questions on the show, and then we can get that answered for you, inshallah. Thank you so much. So Shaykh, our next question is it okay to eat meat that's been stunned but not killed yet, then slaughtered?
Okay. It is. If an animal has been stunned but not killed, and then it is slaughtered after, yes, it is permissible. However, I do take issue with an analogy that was given to the brother, Jazakallah khair. And that the example was given that when a human goes for an operation and has the general anesthetic, that is better, of course, so that person doesn't feel any pain. So based on that, we would say it's recommended, or you'd understand it's recommended to stun the animal. And we don't say that. It's not recommended. And it wasn't the practice of or encouraged by the Prophet ﷺ to stun animals. But if it is done, it is acceptable. Okay? But it is not recommended to do. And the analogy that was given, you would understand that it is something, because of course, you know, to have general anesthetic, it's more than recommended. It's, you know, no one wants to have a major operation without, you know, being put to sleep. It's not the same. So I take issue with the analogy, because it's not correct to say that, because you would understand that it's recommended to stun the animals, and it is not. And the example to say that it brings about pain, no. How the Prophet ﷺ, and we told in Islam how an animal is sacrificed, it should be caused no pain, and it is over in seconds. If it is done, the stun is done, and the animal doesn't die, it is permissible for you to eat. Wallahu alam.
Thank you so much, Shaykh. Our next question is from our brother who called and asked, why do we raise our index finger during tashahhud? Is this a sunnah, or what is the meaning of it?
Okay. So the movement of the finger in tashahhud while sitting in the prayer is a matter which there are many different views amongst the scholars how that actually is manifest, how it is shown. There are those who say you point with it. There are those who say you don't move it at all, it just stays down. There are others who say it goes up at a certain part and then it goes down. Some say it moves, a slight movement. Okay, there are all different evidences that they use to come to these conclusions. Some of them are acceptable interpretations based upon sound ahadith. Some of them are based upon, we will say, if you like, ahadith which are not strong ahadith, but nonetheless there are ulama who have those opinions. And if a person follows that, then they're entitled to that. But it does seem to, if you like, it is. I'm not saying it is as though my opinion is the even though we have all of these differences of opinion. Now the opinion of Wasim is the final one, it is the correct one. Allah Azza wa Jalla knows best. I mean, there are acceptable differences of opinion on this. Okay, but the general it seems that there is a pointing and a movement of the finger, albeit quite small. There's a hadith which is in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad, which is some of the ulama have said it is hadith Hasan, that the moving of the finger is harder on the shaitan than the hitting him of a hammer. That is not a literal thing for a person to have to start then, slamming their finger down as though they're hitting the shaitan, because that's not what is to be understood. But making dua during the tashahhud is, on saying things correctly in the tashahhud, is the most important thing. Wallahu a'lam.
Thank you, Shaykh. We only have around a minute left for the next question. It's about the mother who called about her son who she says left Islam. She sought help for the past 2 years. They live in the area of Uxbridge.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate, but it is the life that sometimes, Allah yahdi man yasha wa yudillu man yasha. Allah guides and misguides whom He wills. So what I would say is that you go to your nearest markaz, your nearest major masjid or da'wah organization, and explain to them. And if he's willing to come and speak with them, or you can get some material to be given to him, then maybe that's a possibility. Or maybe contacting the channel externally, other than this channel, other than this particular program, to find out if any services or places can be offered to the system. May Allah guide our brother and guide us all and make it easy for us all. Ameen.
Ameen. Thank you so much for being with us today, Shaykh Wasim.
Barakallahu feek.
Jazakallah khair. We'll see you next week.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much for our viewers for tuning in today, and for everyone who sent their questions and called us on the phone. We'll be back tomorrow at the same time at 7 o'clock, inshallah. So for now, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
This program is sponsored by Half Hour Deen.